Welcome to Life, Lafter Divorce, episode 53. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
And we are back for another wonderful week of divorce.
That's 53 weeks. That means I'm putting up there almost as long as any of your other relationships, aren't I?
You're like the longest. I mean, next thing you know, we'll be married and then game over.
Yeah, divorce then.
Right, exactly. You're one step closer, mister. Hey, and we kept saying like it's a year, but as we realized, we released like our first 3 episodes or whatever that first week. So 52 would be a year if it were one a week, but we did a few extras. So our year anniversary is coming up on Valentine's Day.
Wow. Do we have anything special planned?
We do.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the boyfriend and I were thinking that, remember, we were talking about doing something a little bit different. And we want to know, are there any single ladies out there looking to be set up on a blind podcast date with another special guest here on the pod? So the boyfriend and I want to set you up for Valentine's Day on the pod. So I think that's pretty safe. So you'll be on a double date with us almost, for your first little encounter.
That'd be interesting. I've never been on a double date Skype pod thing before.
Me neither. So
Wow.
This is new. This is very modern. Yeah. So if you're interested, tell us a little bit about yourself, what your interests are. Maybe send a photo. Anyway, the boyfriend and I are going to select one of the candidates. The lucky person may be you. And we'll send you the details if you've been selected for a date on the pod. So send your information over to info@lifelafterdivorce.com.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So everyone join in and let's have a great Valentine's Day together.
So this should be cool. So we need you to send your email in this next week. So we should probably put a deadline on this. It's already the 6th. So probably send it to us before Valentine's Day.
That would help.
That would help substantially. And then we'll go from there. Yeah. So that's exciting. And while you're in there writing down all of your details to us, you probably want to rate, review, and subscribe while you're tuning in. And as long as you're doing this in a safe place and not in your car, unless you're parked. Boyfriend hates it. I know you hate it, so I'm going to continue doing it.
Yes.
That's how I roll.
So do we have anything? What else is going on the website?
Hey, retail therapy, you guys. Hey, you know what? Valentine's Day right around the corner. So next week. Holy gosh. Gosh. I just said holy gosh.
Yeah, you're getting old.
What just happened? I forgot where I was. And here I am being polite. So on the website, we have retail therapy. And you guys, this is a great time to pamper yourself, do a little self-care, indulge, treat yourself, spend some money.
Or buy some soaps and candles for your special someone and have them for your Valentine's evening.
Right?
Yeah.
So do it. Put a ring around that tub. Get some.
So now we've got single ladies in the beginning, and we got rings, and we're just gonna go all Beyonce out here.
Hey, let's get Beyonce here. Do it up. So that's what we have going on for V-Day. What else?
So looking back at relationships like that, since it is Valentine's Day, and everyone thinks about
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is not.
It's never worked out for me.
Well, it's worked out too well for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just, you guys, I have to remind the boyfriend each year. Wow. It's been years. That it's okay just to go with like dinner and a movie, flowers and chocolate, something simple. You don't have to propose, It just doesn't have to be that way. And I don't have to get married or get engaged on this day anymore. You
worry.
are so off the hook, boyfriend.
Yeah, don't worry.
Oh, you weren't planning that anyway?
No.
I just got the hand to the face and an eye roll.
So looking back on it, on your your wedding and engagement.
Yeah.
Hindsight. Do you have any, do you wish you would have done things a little differently now looking back on them?
Said no. No. No, gosh, there's a lot of things I could have done differently, but would I have? Probably not. it would have changed everything. I always think of the movie Back to the Future when people go, would you change something? I'm like, think about that. Because he went back and just changed one simple thing and the whole future was ruined. Remember that?
Yeah, of course I remember that.
Well, you're staring at me like you don't know.
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this.
Well, that's just it. If I changed one little thing about what I did in the past, we may not be here today. Probably not at all.
No, probably not. Same here if I changed anything with my past relationships. But our past relationships have been snapshots in time. They're very small, very short.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think I'd probably want to change maybe one, try something different, but most of them were just, like you said, something that just passings in time and whatever else. So, but how about if you were you've been married twice, but your marriages have been less than some of my relationships.
Well, both of them put together are less than most anybody's relationship.
But what if you were married for 15, 20 years?
Yeah, that would be different. I think that would be harder for me to, my hindsight would be much different. I would be like, yeah, I do wish I would have changed that, or I would have been more invested, I guess.
Is that what it is? Is there more history, more investment with that person?
Well, I think it would be harder to, it was one thing going through the grieving process, if you will, over, a marriage that was only a few years. I can't imagine what it would be like after being married 10, 15, 20, let alone, 50 years or something like that. I mean, that's a lifetime. And especially if I were to have raised kids with them, that's a whole different bonding experience in itself. So I would imagine that it would be much harder to look back and not have regrets if it didn't work out.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. And I think too, even though a lot of my relationships have been shorter than most people's, I realized that when I was younger, it was one thing and I'd bounce back quicker. And as I've gotten older, that's not necessarily the case. I find it gets harder. And I think too, maybe part of that is over the years, you keep learning the same lessons until you finally, get smart. So I would think that if I had been in a relationship for 10, 20 years, that would be very difficult to not really give some deep thought to those things.
Yeah, you'd look back and you would be like, all right, maybe I should have done this different. Maybe I should have done that different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's quite an investment of your own time and your own life. And then to not have that anymore would be
really tough.
A big change.
Yes, definitely a big change. And, if you've been with someone that long, I would think that, you kind of have the rest of your life mapped out and have plans. So when that ends, I mean, I've dated people for, a couple of months, and in my mind, I've had things mapped out, and that ends. Girls, we do that. We do. I mean, a lot of us may not admit it, but it happens. It's just, you kind of like, can I picture this? Can I picture that? And you picture those things, and then like a few months later, it doesn't work out, and you're like, crash, burn. So
yeah, but if those things are actually realities, then
exactly.
It's a different story, a different.
Right. So
you're viewing it from a different lens.
Right. Yeah. So, being with someone for a long time and having that path, that's a lot more real than just a imagination or fantasy, if you will.
So this week we talked to
Jim. We talked to Jim.
We got to know Jim quite a bit over this conversation, and we got to learn about him in the first part, and then we delved into
a much deeper conversation
in the end, and it was incredibly enlightening from our standpoint of being a little bit younger and having these sort of shorter relationships compared to a much longer relationship that Jim was a part of.
Absolutely. And it was, just like the boyfriend just said, the beginning of the conversation, we're getting to know each other a little bit. And then as we get to know Jim, we really get to know Jim. So I think you'll really enjoy this one. Jim is a father, a grandfather, an ex-husband, and a recent retiree. So without further ado, we'd like you to meet Jim. Podcast, you guys. Thanks for joining us today, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
Yes, and that means the boyfriend is involved in this one also.
That's right. The boyfriend's here. Jim is here. We're hanging out on a beautiful day.
Hi, Jim.
I'm in trouble.
You are. So just to give our listeners a little bit of background about you, Jim, do you want to, you moved out here from the Midwest.
Yes.
Yeah, to the West Coast.
And when did you do that?
End of August.
So recently?
End of August last year. I take that back.
A year ago?
No, 2017.
Oh, okay.
We're in 2018 now.
Right.
Get with the program, okay?
Boyfriend's confused too.
Well, I was trying to be a little more general and being like, what place in your life did you move out here?
Oh, I retired.
Yeah, so you retired from the Midwest, came out here, and now you live in beautiful California, and
Yeah. This time of the year, the sunshine is great. Colder and all giddy up back home, and shorts and T-shirt are a whole lot better in February than long pants and sweatshirts.
Yeah, you are a man of flip-flops these days.
Love it.
Yeah, that's a nice change, I would imagine, from the Midwest. And not only that, you've had the life change of being retired, so... Did you have any of your retirement back in the Midwest, or did you retire and then weeks later show up here?
Pretty much that's how it happened. Let me back up a little bit. Originally, the retirement was actually going to be happening this spring after the winter was over with, because I was going to have to drive out here, and I didn't want to drive across the mountains in the wintertime, which most people wouldn't do anyway. So things changed health-wise. And all of a sudden, in the end of August, my retirement came through, and I was done working. And the kids made the decision that I didn't need any more stress to keep going. So they said, "Dad, you're done working, and that's it."
So no stress, but then they went through the move stress to get you out here.
Yeah, because moving's not stressful,
not stressful
at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, with kids, I mean, I've gone through moving kids in and out of college and things like that, so that wasn't too bad. We had kind of been planning on this for a while, so I was kind of downsizing with a lot of things that I had. And, my condo only had so much room in it anyway. So it wasn't bad. You just load up a U-Haul and drive for 3.5 days, and you end up out here.
Yeah. Well, so has it been an easier transition other than the move and the actual unpacking and, doing those kind of things? Once you got here, how has that transition been from not getting up every day and showing up to work? And
it's been different. 2 days ago, I was up at 3:30 in the morning. I still wake up early like I always have. Nothing unusual there. It's just odd not having anything to do yet. I'm not used to that. So it's a little bit different. Actually, quite a bit different. But we'll adjust.
So I'm kind of curious. So, all right. So you moved out here. You have kids out here, obviously, but you're no longer married.
Correct.
Yeah. And can we ask how long you've been divorced? He's thinking, folks. He's thinking.
Wow. What year is it?
It's 2018.
2018 now, as you stated a little earlier.
Oh, wow. Probably.
This is what happens, you guys. You will eventually forget.
Yeah, I would probably say 12, 13 years. Give or take on that a little bit.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while. So I'm curious about when you first got divorced and you made a move. Let's talk about like the difference in moving, like the moving experience when you have a family and you're married. Did you ever move during that time?
Yeah. Moved into an apartment for a while, and then we ended up selling the house, and that's when I moved into the condo that I had for about 10 years back there.
Yeah. How is it moving out here versus moving back?
Just a longer distance.
That's about it.
Move is a move.
A move is a move. It's a pain in the butt.
You got to pack up the stuff.
Yeah.
Problem is this is, packed and unpacked for about 3 times now, and have bought the same things about 3 different times now. Just odds and ends that you have around the house that you normally have. And some of the stuff got left back there, and you get out here and go, damn, I got that somewhere, but it's not here.
Isn't that frustrating?
Well, it is.
Yeah. How many times have you moved in your lifetime?
Not that many.
No.
4.
4?
Yeah.
Boyfriend,
4, maybe 5.
How many times have you moved?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I'm up to 9 now.
I think I
Wow.
was up to 27.
Yeah, you top us all. But you lived in New York, and you
moved 27 times?
Yeah. I've moved a lot. I have actually moved quite a bit. I know.
Wow.
And it's hard to believe because I'm only 28.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, right. No, okay. So it's interesting because when I've moved on going through a divorce or a breakup or something, a move is obviously different because there's a lot more emotion and feeling involved with it when you're moving for another reason, like on an adventure, you're taking off and, I moved to New York or I moved to Vegas. Those were different kinds of moves because those were by choice and looking forward. Whereas oftentimes in a divorce, you kind of feel like, this wasn't planned or something. But going back to what you said, Jim, is
who's Jim?
You.
Oh, okay.
So going back to you, Jim, when you move and you realize you left stuff behind, do you ever feel like in your divorce or something, you left that stuff behind or you've had to start over? It's kind of frustrating.
Well, it is, but the divorce itself is kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it all kind of ties together. A lot of days it sucks big time, but for whatever reason, things didn't work out even after a long time of being married. And, you just do the best you can.
Yeah. And how long were you married?
About 20 years.
That's a long time. That's
Yeah.
a long time. So what's the difference now living alone versus, we've had other guests come on that have been married for, 20, 25 years and then they're divorced. And they talked about some people have never lived alone before. What does that change for you like?
It's more quiet. You don't have anybody to talk to, nobody to sit down and have dinner with, things like that. It's different, but it's not the end of the world. It's another adjustment that you have to make. And okay, maybe you didn't want to make it, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So you went through that transition 12 or so years ago where you had to figure out how to, again, not have someone around, dinners and those kinds of things. So that was the initial 10 or 12 years you were still in with the Midwest. So now that you moved out here, this was just was this more of a fun move, like she was saying, or is this a little different? Because as I understand it, you've moved closer to family out here.
Yes and no. This move out here has been planned for quite some time, actually.
Okay.
I do have family here. I do have family in the Midwest, and I do have family on the East Coast. So we're spread out all across the country.
So you had some options.
Yeah. But I wanted to get rid of the cold weather and all of that, and this was the best option of all three of them for that. But originally, the kids were still small enough where I'd still see them, so it wasn't like I was totally alone all the time. Actually, anytime through any of this, they've always been around close enough. Where one or two of them, or depending on where it's at, we've always been able to get together for who knows what, most anything. So it wasn't like I was left totally out in the cold without seeing any of them.
Right.
Probably a lot different than maybe some other people. I don't know.
No, but that's strength of family. So your family, your extended family, kids and everything were all there for you during all of the processes.
Oh,
of all
yeah.
these moves. Yeah.
Oh, and they still are. I mean, all four of them, actually, even the kid's mom. I mean, she's still all part of it.
Yeah, you're still a family. Different dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Just different dynamic. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. What does that mean?
different. Your relationships have changed, so the energy has changed around that, obviously.
Yeah. So the frustration and all of that stuff you go through initially, time really, at least for me anyway, time really does help a lot. I don't know if you get totally past all of that, the feelings that you had for your spouse. I don't know if you totally get past how you feel about him or her either. I guess it depends on everybody's feelings. Yeah. So
as your relationships has evolved and over the years, obviously, like you said, or I said, a different dynamic and things have shifted and changed, but you guys are all still involved with each other. You're still a family. Has that affected like you being able to move forward and get a new relationship?
No. The relationship part of it, to be very honest with you, I really haven't had any desire to go that direction. And I think it's probably has a lot to do with how I still feel about her. Kids are one thing, but having a wife or a husband, I mean, that's a whole different kind of relationship. And that's a hard feeling to let go of. And obviously I haven't done that yet. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to live with it. I don't see where we would ever be able to live together anymore. I mean, she's got a different life and she's doing well with hers. I've got my life now and apparently I'm doing okay with it. But we still care a lot about each other and want to make sure each one of us is okay. So we still help each other. We still go on family vacations together.
Wow.
Yeah. You figure that out.
What's that experience like?
We're friends.
Which is really important in any relationship.
Yeah, that's friends go on vacation together. They have fun together. Everything about all of this has always been about kids first. What happened, you and I, second. It's always been that way. It always will be that way.
Yeah, it's probably not that easy to do all the time either.
Oh, there's been moments, like any relationship. There's always moments that blow up and you work through them. And I'm pretty sure a lot of those moments have had to deal with me. But we get through them, and the kids are a big help even with stuff like that. Now that they've gotten older, we can talk more as adults now, which they all are, and that's helpful too. And tell you what, they're a lot smarter than I ever was.
So are some of your kids, they're adults now, so I'm guessing maybe some of them, have they moved on and gotten married? Or are they in?
Yeah, all of them are married at this point. I've got two granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, just another change. Unfortunately, we don't get to see each other as much as we did when they were little because we were all in the same state and the same city. And like I said, now we're all the way across the country.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for technology to keep you together.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So now that you're here and you're retired and you have like this whole new opportunity for you to create the whole new life, what does that look like?
I think it probably looks more like me sitting on the couch drinking beer all day long. No, I don't know yet at this point where all of this is going to take me. I never have been a real big planner. So I guess whatever comes my way we'll see what happens at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's still, in my mind anyway, making sure the kids are okay and their mom is okay. Kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. So if I know you don't have any big plans, what would, you have, you're in a new state, and have you had an opportunity to get out and explore a little bit? What have you learned about this particular experience?
Way too many people out here for my liking.
The traffic doesn't help, does it?
No, the traffic is horrible. No, I haven't really explored too much. Kind of been able to find my way a little bit with help from friends and my daughter out here. Kind of where things are at. I try not to get on the freeways if I can absolutely avoid it. Yeah, it's just moving anywhere is difficult because you don't know where anything is at. Where I lived back there pretty much my whole life, and you kind of know where to go and what shortcuts to take. And out here, it's kind of like have no idea where any of that stuff is, and that part is a little tricky at times. And sometimes it's like, nah, I'm not going. I have no idea where that's at.
What about meeting friends? What has that experience been like?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Making friends.
It's been interesting. I'm not a real outgoing person, so for me to make friends is harder to do than any one of my kids. I mean, they make friends in a heartbeat, and I never have been real comfortable. Even when I was married, we'd go to parties and things like that. Talking with other people was never my
really
comfort zone.
See, and I'm looking at you like, wow, that's really hard to believe because we met you fairly easily.
Yeah, that's because you met them first and I came in second, and it felt comfortable. Work-wise, I've dealt with the public my whole life.
That's different.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing than being at a function of some kind and you have to make small conversation.
Oh, the boyfriend loves that.
Yeah, my small conversation is, "Hi, how are you?" That's it.
At least you say something. Mine's the stare of death. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, hold up the sign. Leave me alone. So yeah, it's.
What would make it easier? Because So I've moved, as I mentioned, I moved like 25, 27 times in my lifetime. And moving, I found that was so much easier to do when I was younger, right? Because it was exciting. You're like, I've never done this before. I don't know what kind of stress happens from this. And as I get older, I'm like, okay, now it's kind of getting old, moving so much and starting over so many times. Now, at a place you are in your life, and now you're retired and you're moving at this age, how do you think it would have been any different 25 years ago? And if so, how? What would you be doing differently?
I don't think it would have been any different. It would have just been easier to load the truck and unload the truck without feeling like you're all beat up about it. I don't have this stamina I did 40 years ago, which I don't think most people do. So that part of it would have been easier, but, moving, you sit in the truck and you drive for 8, 10, 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
So what? Anybody can do that.
Well, the physical thing of moving, yes. But the extra things that go along with it, like you stated, you're in a new place. When you come from a place that you already know where all the shortcuts are, you understand it. When we're young, and I felt this way too, is I was excited to learn the shortcuts of the new place, excited to learn about all the new people there. And as I get older, and I don't know about you, Leanne, as I get older, I'm like, I'll figure it out. But I'm not going to go out of my way to figure it out. And I don't need to go meet people. I'm just tired from work, and that's just the way it is. So moving to me for all the extra stuff has been not as fun. Like when I was younger and moving around in the Midwest and other places, it was enjoyable because I was excited to see where I was going. But so 25 years ago, I'm guessing you would probably been a little more excited about where you're going.
Especially moving to California, but I'm like, yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, but, as you get a little bit older, and especially after working for 50 plus years, you're basically kind of tired, and you feel comfortable to some degree just kind of sitting down and just enjoying the warm weather that you've got out here and letting the world go by, and who cares?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a
I
lot.
want to experience some of that.
You busted your hump for that long, and you work 10, 12, 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. It gets old real fast. But when you're young, you do it because that's what you have to do. And now, don't need to, don't want to, just tired.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good not to really have to do anything 5 days a week anymore.
Yeah.
Dealing with the public is stressful, but so now that's done and out of your life, and now you're here and you can relax and enjoy it. And so you get together with your family out here regularly.
Well, I've only been out here 5 months, so it's kind of even living back in the Midwest. It's kind of like once or twice a year we'd either go east or we'd come west, depending on situations like that. As kids got older, we didn't get to see each other that much because now they're working, they're starting families, all of that kind of stuff. You know how that goes. You just don't see each other that much because they're not around that much anymore. That's the way the world works these days.
Yep.
Everybody not afraid to move across the country for a better job or for who knows what reason. But that's okay, because when you're raising kids, you raise them to be adults, you raise them to be able to take care of themselves, and they go out and do that, and what more can you ask?
Yeah.
Proud father.
That's right.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
I am proud of all of them.
Yeah.
And, we worked hard even through the difficult times to make sure that they were okay and that they could be productive adults when they grew up. Boy, there's a comment. Adults and productive adults. Anyway, so, they could carry on and just take care of their own. And that's what they've been able to do.
Which is pretty awesome.
So,
yeah, that says a lot about you as a parent.
If you're not going to take care of your kids, why have them?
Good question for a lot of people.
You brought them into
a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's another episode.
You brought them into the world. Take care of them, and you don't stop taking care of them until they close the lid on you. It's your responsibility. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. Stick that in your bonnet.
I'm going to put my bonnet on right now. Right now, Jim. So now that you're here, you're settled in your place, you are enjoying the weather, watching the world go by. I know you mentioned like you don't have a real plan of what's to come, but if there were one thing that you'd like to add and bring into your life right now, what would that be? What does that look like?
All of us living on the same cul-de-sac.
Oh.
So our family could be all together again. And that's not from me. And that would be more of Mom's idea, but I couldn't agree more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just the closeness of the family. You each have your own space, but we're all close and we can still...
It's that simple.
Yep.
That is nice.
Yep. I don't need anything else.
Yeah. You'd have everything you need right there.
So, yeah, wouldn't that be great if that could happen?
Is that something you think could happen?
No, not anymore in this world. No. That's why they got airplanes, so you can go see people.
Well, if you could go back and tell yourself 25 years ago, your 25 years younger self, a piece of advice, what would that be?
oh man, how do I say this? Take care of things that you didn't take care of to get you in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard that before.
Yeah. You just sometimes you just let things go that you shouldn't, and those sometimes things add up to a point of it's too late.
Would you say, oftentimes the boyfriend and I talk to our guests, and when it comes down to it, it's the little things that make the biggest difference in our lives or in a relationship.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And unfortunately, most people in this world only focus on the big things and let the little things go. And it gets back to your statement about the cul-de-sac. That's nothing big. That's something little.
Yeah.
You're not asking for huge houses. You're not asking for whatever. You're just asking to be close to your family. That's all that is. That's a little thing. And a lot of people, unfortunately, with the fast-paced world we're in today, don't pay attention to those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's what do I want to say here? It's things that you kind of take for you start taking for granted that somebody's doing something for you, somebody meaning your spouse, whether it's him or her, and you kind of get used to that, and all of a sudden it gets to be more and more, and you're still not appreciating what that is, or it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. The communication thing is just not there where it has to be. And boy, that gets you in trouble every time. And I can sit here and say, it bit me right in the ass. My fault.
Sounds like gratitude. A friend of mine always says, when you start finding to want the things you have instead of the things you don't, your life changes.
Yeah, it's, hindsight is really 20/20. All you have to do is just communicate with your partner or with your friend or whoever it is. Tell them how you feel. Ask them if they need anything done. Don't be a bump on a log and just sit there not doing anything. Not a hard thing to do, but apparently it is to some people. And we'll leave it at that because fill in the blanks and you're pretty much right.
Well, you are here now, and the boyfriend and I are really super happy that you are. And I'm just hearing all the things that you're sharing. I mean, that's being able to look back on life and relationships over that kind of time period. I mean, that's a lifetime. And to have that kind of reflection and knowing that you're in a space now where you have this time and you have this freedom, right? Do you see you taking any of those lessons learned or are you already and applying them to your now?
Applying them to who?
You, your life, your existing relationships, a new dynamic, new encounters.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not looking for a relationship, so I can't compare that to anybody.
Mm-mm.
Friends are a whole different dynamic than somebody that you want to get serious with, I sure as hell hope that I would change my ways.
But I guess, have you, in the existing relationships that you have, whether they're friends, whether they're, your family or whatever, have you seen that because of the lessons you learned in the past that it's changed what you're doing currently in your relationships?
Yeah. I think it has. Yeah, I think it has. At least I hope it has anyway, because if it hasn't, I'm really dumber than a box of rocks. Yeah, it had to. You know, and the kids have really, tell you what, the kids nowadays, I think, are a whole lot smarter than what my generation of people were. They're not afraid to ask questions. They're not afraid to talk to their parents about anything, where in my day, that was just never happened. And they know how to discuss things without everybody going off the deep end and making a big issue out of things. So in regards to all of that, I think the world's going to be a lot better because they know how to do that. But they've also taught me how to do a lot of that myself too, in thinking that my way is not the only way of doing things. Bingo. That was a lesson that all of a sudden it's kind of like, wow, yeah, they got it. I didn't.
Yeah, but so I'm probably closer to your kids' age, maybe a little older. But looking back at my family, my grandfather was always right, and that was his way, and that's the way you did it.
That's exactly it.
And my father wasn't as 100% as my grandfather was, but still had that. And now I am almost, I don't know what you would call me, Leanne, but I try to be very receptive to everybody's input to try to make a better decision. And it's not always my way. I know that. And I don't know if society taught me that or what taught me that, but things have changed through the generations as we went forward. So I've recognized that.
And you know, it has to be that way. And hopefully, not just you and I, but everybody that grew up in those times like that, hopefully they have learned that there are more than one way of getting things done. You know? Because it's hard to break away from that. You know, when you grow up in that thing from the time you were born until who knows how long, that's what you hear. You know, no, you can't do this, and that's the end of it. Or
you do it this way, and that's it.
Correct.
Because I said so.
Yeah, because I said so. Good answer. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's, I'll go back to the kids. They ask questions that you and I never would have dreamed of asking. But that was okay. That was okay that they were asking those, and I had to learn that. And they had to teach me that. Their mom had to teach me that. They had to teach me to get by all of this old stuff that I grew up with and just listen to what they were asking instead of putting my hands over my ears and going, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, they did know what they were talking about.
Well, you stated it, and you're correct. There's more than one way to do something. So, and then to go one step further, there's more than one way to do something and be successful at it. There's no one right way to do it. So to be open to all of those ways and to be receptive to the different ways people want to attack a problem or to accomplish something, then that's us growing as people to allow this to happen and be open to it.
Well, you have to be able to do that because the world is changing so much every day, every hour.
Yeah.
You know, it's not 1940 anymore, you know, with the technology and everything.
Just for our listeners, I don't know anything about 1940. That's before my time.
I don't either.
Good one. Okay. Anyway, no, you have to be receptive to so many different things and not just sit here and think, well, I'm the only one that knows the answer to that. I'm the only one that knows how to do that. It's like, no, you're not. You've got to be able to work with people, listen to what they say, understand where they're coming from, and come to a conclusion that's going to be good for everybody, and stop being so damn judgmental about everything that's going on. You know?
Yeah.
Nobody made me God. I don't have the right answers all the time. So everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody's family is different. Everybody is different to some degree. That's okay. Because if we were all the same, it'd be pretty damn boring.
Yes, it would.
Yes. We'd have nothing to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of how times have changed, just look at you now sitting down and doing a podcast. That's not something, well, you wouldn't have done it 20 years ago because podcasts didn't exist.
And
but
definitely not in 1940.
Right. It would have been like Morse code. But
What's wrong with Morse code?
Absolutely nothing.
There you go.
It's extremely helpful. but here you are talking on a podcast about your experience. And, even before we started recording this episode, as we were kind of talking about it, this isn't, you and I kind of had a conversation about, this isn't something that people used to talk about openly. This is a very keep to yourself kind of topic.
Yes. And I think in some places that still is true. I hope it's changing and keeps changing for everybody out there. Because how are you going to fix anything if you don't talk about it?
Absolutely. And what you've experienced could help somebody else. And
hopefully, yeah. And
just being able to talk about it and not feel that you're being judged the same way that maybe we've judged others.
Yeah, it's it's not an easy thing. When things like this happen, it's kind of one of these things that really not your proudest moment in life. It really kind of sucks big time. But you have to move on from it because it's not changing.
But if you grow from it and you learn from it, then you become a better person for it. And hopefully everyone around you recognizes that.
Totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it sounds like your family has, and you guys have found a new dynamic and are like you said, you still go on family vacations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, yeah. I mean, we still have our issues every now and then.
As every family does.
Like every family does, yep.
Even if you were still together, you'd still have issues.
But, for the most part, everybody is all in for everybody. The kids look out for themselves and for each other. We look out for everybody. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Everybody looks out for everybody. How do you go wrong with that?
That's right. You can't.
No. So unfortunately, we're not all together. But like I said, kids grow up and they move, and you can't change that because that's the way you raised them.
Yep. I can understand that.
So,
the boyfriend too. We get it. We get it.
Yeah. Good. No. Who's the boyfriend?
The boyfriend. Well, we really appreciate you taking time out and sharing with us and openly talking about your own personal experience and to hear where you're going. It's really good to hear.
If you can figure out where I'm going, let me know.
Well, we have a pretty good idea. I see a chair with your name on it in the sunshine. Maybe on the beach one day, maybe out in the yard another day. But there you go. It's not a bad place to be.
No, it isn't. This is really kind of what retirement is all about. You put in your time, you worked hard.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Make your new cul-de-sac.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome.